Are hotels really better than staying in an RV? Find out next. Welcome to the channel. I'm Liz. I make videos about defective RVs in order to pressure the RV industry to take care of their customers. So far that has been working thanks to you for making this channel the force that it is. Many of you watching my RV nightmare videos comment that it's much better to just travel by hotels than an RV. And I know you mean well. I know you just want to save people the heartache of having an RV nightmare, but I think there's a much better solution than hotels. But first of all, let's compare RVs versus hotels. As you can see, I'm in a hotel right now. In fact, for the last 4 nights, I have been staying in hotels. And it used to be, oh my gosh, I couldn't wait to stay in a hotel. Before I did full-time RV life, hotels were a treat. After full-time RV life, not so much. So let's pretend that you and your neighbor are planning for a trip. You are going to stay on this trip across the country in hotels. Your neighbor is going to take an RV. So there you go. You both leave at the same time and you're going down the road. And I can tell you that something's going to happen in the first couple hours, 2, 3, maybe 4 max. Someone in the vehicle is going to need to go to the bathroom. So if you're on the interstate, you look for a rest stop. I can tell you that the last 3 rest stops I have passed have been closed. So now you're going to have to get off the interstate and find a place to use the bathroom. Well, most restaurants you've got to get a code, and the bathrooms may not be that clean. One place I stopped on the roadside had pit toilets, and if you don't know what a pit toilet is, good for you, because they're not pleasant, not something that you really are looking forward to when you need to use the bathroom. But if you have, like your neighbors have, an RV, guess what? If you have a drivable, that person can get up and just use the bathroom. It's no big deal. If you need to use it and you're driving, obviously you pull over. If you have a towable, again, not so much of a big deal. You can go to that rest stop and then just use your own bathroom. So now you're back on the road, more time has passed, maybe an hour or 2, and guess what? You're hungry. Well, if you are doing the hotel thing, then you have everything in your car. You might have a cooler, but you've got to find a place to pull over. Most likely you don't have any way to cook or heat up what you have, so you're limited, or you're going to restaurants, which can get old. Now, if you're on a short trip, maybe a weekend, restaurants can be a treat, but day after day, all meals at a restaurant, okay, first of all, gets very expensive. Second of all, takes so much of your time. If you only have a few days travel, you don't want to spend all that time waiting to be served, waiting for your food at a restaurant. Spam calls. Aren't they annoying? Don't they always seem to happen at the worst possible time? Unfortunately, these days, our personal data is collected all over the internet and sold, often without our knowledge. That's why it's crucial to get your information off these lists. Incogni makes it simple to do just that. Incogni gets your information off the spam list. We're talking spam phone calls, junk texts, and spam that shows up in your email inbox. And it does all this automatically. They don't just do this once, they regularly will scan for your info. Getting started with Incogni is easy. You just create an account and authorize them to act on your behalf. There's a dashboard where you can see the results. Stop the spam phone calls and keep your inbox spam-free by taking your personal data back with Incogni. Use the code LizAmazing at the link below to get 60% off the annual plan. Much better to cook your own food. I like to eat healthy. It's much easier if I have my food with me. Now, if you're like your neighbors and you're in the RV, it's so easy. You have the food you like and you don't have to worry about eating strange food that might give you tummy upset or even food poisoning. Okay, so now we're coming to the end of the day and it's time to stop. Well, if you're doing the hotel route, you've got to find a hotel. If you're traveling with dogs, that's a whole nother thing, because if you have big dogs, loud dogs, hotels will not accept them. There are certain breeds that hotels will not accept. And if they will accept your dog, it's going to cost more. Now, if you saw my video a few weeks ago, you know that I do have a dog. I have Boo. She is right here. You can see her on the bed. She looks like an angel, and most of the time she is, but she's a miniature schnauzer, which means she's very barky. She has a super loud bark that can probably bust your eardrums. So I am facing the window looking outside of the hotel. The curtains are open to give me more light. If somebody walks by, she is going to bark so loud that the neighbors next door are going to hear, the neighbors upstairs are going to hear. The same thing if somebody stops by my door and starts talking. She is going to get us thrown out. I tell her that all the time. It is so stressful for me because she's just being who she is, but it is hard to have her in hotels. So if you're traveling with pets, that's a whole nother stress. It's a whole nother expense. It's a lot more work. But speaking of work, okay, so you've got a hotel, you're here. Now what do? You've driven all day, you're tired. Well, your work is not over if you're staying in a hotel, because now you have to unpack. It is not fun. And I learned that from being an RVer for 5.5 years, how much of a burden it can be to stay in a hotel. Now I've got to go get a trolley. I've got to get all my stuff out. I have a cooler. I've got to unload my cooler. I've got to put that in the fridge. Look, I'm not complaining. I'm just comparing. You know, I have been spoiled by being an RVer for 5.5 years. It's so much nicer to just stop. I don't have to unpack. All my stuff is with me. That's another thing. When you're getting ready for a trip and you're doing it by car, you're limited on what you can take with you. When you have an RV, you can have everything. You can have your coat, your favorite sweater, you can have an umbrella, you can have all that stuff with you because obviously you have more room than being in a car. And every time you stop, you don't have to unpack. Yes, there's some setup, but the setup is not like unpacking. And you don't have to set up. If you're only spending one night, you don't need to put your patio mat out. You don't need to string up lights. You probably don't even need to put your sewer hose out. So it's just so much easier in an RV. And here's the big reason that a lot of people get RVs. We've already talked about the bathroom, we've talked about the kitchen, but the bed, traveling with your own bed with you. Listen, I travel with my own pillows. Here I am in a hotel. I have 2 pillows that I bring in and out, but I wish I could travel with my mattress. I don't know what mattress I'm going to get. I don't know how much sleep I'm going to get. There was one hotel that I stayed in and I was exhausted. I was just exhausted. I had driven all day. I had done all this unpacking of the car. I was in the room and finally it's time to go to sleep. So I turned the light off and then there's like maybe 10 or 15 seconds go by and then there's whoosh. There's this bright light. It's as if someone was taking my picture. I'm like, oh my gosh, what was that? Every 20 seconds, whoosh, this light just flashes. And I was like, what is it? I figured out there's some kind of flashing thing next to the fire sprinkler up in the ceiling. And every 20 seconds, that thing flashed. Well, it's 10:30 at night. I'm exhausted. I don't want to get another room. I mean, I really think I needed one, but I was like, I am not going to pack everything up in my room and move to another room. I don't know what this is. I'm just going to have to put a pillow over my face and sleep. I woke up at 3:30 to the flashing. It kept going and tried to get back to sleep and I didn't. It was just, I was so mad. I was like, here I paid good money for this hotel room and I'm being annoyed by this bright flashing light. The next morning I went down to the desk and I was like, there was this flashing light in my room. I don't know what it was. And they said, oh, that's an accessible room. People that are deaf, we flash that light to let them know everything is okay. Okay, I could do a separate video about the logic in that and about annoying deaf people, but I was like, look, I just didn't get any sleep. They were kind enough to give me like 20 bucks off, but I was like, I don't even want to fight anymore. I'm tired, I'm sleep deprived. I just need to move on. So those are just some of the things that can go wrong in staying in a hotel. They're expensive, they're noisy. RV. We haven't even talked about bed bugs though. So I know you mean well by suggesting staying in a hotel, but if you're an RVer, you know that the freedom and adventure and being out here, it's awesome in an RV, not so much in a hotel. So what is the answer? Well, I actually made some tips on how to avoid an RV nightmare. That way you can still have an RV, you can enjoy the freedom and adventure of RV life, but be free of the worry of getting stuck with a problem RV. So I did a video all about that. Be sure and check that out. But first, let me know in the comments your worst hotel experience. I want to hear all about it, so put that in the comments. And as always, please like, subscribe, and share. Help educate your other RVers, your fellow RVers, by getting the word out by sharing this channel. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next video.